Hey guys, it's me. I have a question for you. Have you ever gone to your closet, tried on something, and now all of a sudden you're jumping up and down, hoping that gravity gets you into it, or you're rolling on the bed, or you're squeezing yourself so tight, trying to hook that button? Well, if that is you, I have something that you're going to love. Check it out. Hey, I have a question for you. Have you ever had someone that just gives it to you straight and you're like so shell shocked about it? You don't know what to do, and you're so frustrated and you're so upset in that moment, but then you ruminate on it and you think about it and you play it over and over in your head, and then you're like, okay, they were right. I need to get my stuff together. I had that experience a while ago, and it was with one of my friends. And my friend told me that I was getting fat, and I was ticked off about it. Not only was I ticked off simply because this person told me that, but I was also frustrated because the person that told me that was a guy. It was one of my guy friends. And then I went through this whole roller coaster of emotions from being like super upset about the fact that it was said, to being super upset that the fact that it was that person who said it, to trying to figure out where did I go wrong in all of this and why I couldn't figure it out. And I was in such a state of frustration that I sat on it for 2 weeks and I didn't do anything until I did. And so that's really what today's topic is about today, is about how to identify accountability, both positive and abusive, and how to use that to fuel your wellness, if that is what it's going to do for you, or how to identify if it's hindering your wellness. Okay, so today, constructive and abusive accountability and your wellness. What's up, guys? It's another Thursday. I'm Colette Williams from Curated Health, certified health coach, and I help busy professionals who vacillate between frustrated and motivated with their health. I help them get it together, and we have fun doing it. I am here every Thursday at 7 p.m. to talk about topics surrounding health and wellness. And that doesn't just stop with what's on your plate. It's about how you move. It's about your mindset. It's about the environment that you create. And we have been talking the past couple of weeks really about health and wellness through the lens of mindset and environment. And so that is what tonight is about. So before we get started, I want you to tell me, do you have a friend or an aunt or a cousin or a sibling who kind of told you something along those lines and it really ticked you off? If yes, I want you to give me a thumbs up in the comments and let me know. And if you want to say who it was, then go ahead. But let me tell you about that story. It ended up on the up and up because I was able to utilize my friends, what I internalized initially as abusive accountability, right? Negative reinforcement. I was able to use that in a positive. And I'm going to talk about how that can sometimes work to your benefit and sometimes not. If you want to hear the whole story, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about that story, I'm going to do this for you right now. I'm going to drop the link for that into this chat here, and you can go read all about it, or because it's over on the blog, or you can listen to it because it's actually a video blog, and see how that turned out. I tell the whole story. It's called Jackass Friends and Your Health. So go check that out. I just dropped it in the comments below. Okay, so let's talk about what positive or constructive accountability is and what abusive accountability is. Okay, so we're talking about creating positive beliefs and utilizing positive words to hold yourself accountable for your health and wellness. And at the end of the day, like we talked about a few weeks ago, you can press into other people and you can use OPP, what I like to call other people's personalities, to help you and drive you and get you pushing and going to the finish line, but they cannot start you and they can't get you over that hump. Okay. And so it's really all about the words and the mindset that you have surrounding your situation, whatever that may be, and how effective it's going to be in getting you to your goals or how it's going to hinder you. Okay. So, what we really want to do and talk about tonight is how to create a positive belief and stop using what some people call away language, things that are pushing you away from what it is you're actually trying to do. Okay. Because words are powerful and we tend to internalize what we're saying when we don't even realize that we're doing it, and we hold on to it. And sometimes we are thinking we're being positive, and actually we are using positive negative language, if that makes sense, oxymoron almost, to try to get us further in our journey or to reach our goal. And we're not understanding that what our brain is hearing is not the positive, it's that but, right? So we need to cut the negative, the toxic, the abusive language, because again, you internalize that subconsciously. So I'm pretty sure that you can ascertain what constructive or positive accountability is, right? But what do I mean when I say abusive accountability? And abusive, that's a loaded word, right? And it can feel very heavy. And when we're talking about these phrases, you can attach positive and negative connotations to them, okay? So for instance, my example of my jackass friend who told me I was fat, right? Innately, we would assume that that was abusive accountability. When in actuality, I internalized it based on the end result as positive. But had that been me saying that same thing to myself, that's not how my brain would have internalized it. It would have been internalized as abusive accountability, and it would have actually prohibited me from reaching my goal. So let's dig into this so that you can get a clearer understanding. So when I say abusive accountability, I am talking about you using punishing language, okay, that you think is going to motivate you to do something that you would consider to be positive, right? So again, if I told myself I was fat and that I needed to do something about it, right? Overall, we would say, okay, well, you're moving in the right direction because you understand that there's a situation, there's an issue, there's a concern, and that you need to fix it, right? But that's not what my little brain hears, and that's not what your brain hears. Your brain hears, I am fat, and that's it. Okay. And so then subconsciously, you're doing things that may prohibit you from reaching that goal. So here's some examples. Just like I said, I'm fat, I have to do something to change it, right? Or I can't fit my clothes, so I'm not going to buy new ones. Okay. This talk about constantly reminding ourselves of the state that we're currently in and the state that we want to get out of, and then talking about uh, how we can't reach the state that we want to be, that is abusive internalization, or that is negative internalization of your understanding of your situation. So we have to shift that internal dialogue, okay? So we don't want to focus on the thing that we don't want, right? So if we don't want to be overweight, we're not going to constantly be saying I'm overweight or I'm, and using this terminology of like fat or whatever it is, however it is you're labeling yourself, okay? You're going to focus completely on the positive or the end result, okay? So here's the thing. We just do it, right? We just do it and we don't realize that we're doing it. So here are some triggers, or here are some situations where you can take pause and say, oh, okay, I am leaning into away language, right? Moving away from where I actually want to go, or I'm using subconsciously using negative phrases to identify the situation. Okay, so these are the things that we're doing in these situations that we really need to put a pause on and reframe when we realize that we're doing them. So first of all, you have to stop overgeneralizing your current situation. And a lot of us do this a ton, okay? We tell ourselves that this negative thing is going to happen, right? And so we basically just make this prediction or this assumption or this assessment of a situation based on an isolated situation, right? So, a real world example would be you you apply for a promotion at your job and you don't get that promotion. So then all of a sudden this talk comes in and you start overgeneralizing that situation, and it's like, "Oh, I never get promoted here. I always get passed over for leadership positions, or I always get passed over for raises. I'll never get a raise here. I need to leave." Okay, so that is a complete overgeneralization of that situation, right? So when you find yourself doing that, you need to pull away. The negative, or the negative talk, or the away language that you're using is, "I'm never, I don't ever," right? And I need to, and then you're telling yourself, "I need to leave." Okay, well, let's focus on that, the end of that, right? Not the beginning, because if you continue to say that, it doesn't matter where you go, you're always going to manifest and experience that situation. Does that make sense? If so, give me some hearts or some thumbs up, and let me know if you are vibing with that. Another thing that you can do to stop this behavior, or this mentality, is to stop magnifying things. So magnification of situations, right? So we take our flaws and we over exaggerate our flaws, and we harp on the negative aspects of a situation, and what we would perceive to be negative, right? And so you want to make sure that you're not harping on the negative, but you're looking at the outcome and only speaking to that outcome. That's how you're going to change from abusive accountability to constructive accountability, okay? And then another thing is, and a lot of people do a lot of this, and I'm sure that this resonates with some of you guys, is we polarize, right? So we're polarizing. So we see things as black or white, right? Or good or bad. And then there's just no in between. So it's funny. My significant other, we met in college, and I used to call him Mr. Effit back in college, because he was literally, that's the way he thought. He was extremely literal, and it was black or white. There was no gray in between. It was no like resolve and let's move forward and come together and figure it out. You know, it just was what it was. It was black, it was white, that was it, right? And so it was, you could imagine it being polarizing if you're trying to move forward in a certain situation, right? And so if you're doing that with your talk to yourself, imagine subconsciously how many things you're keeping yourself away from obtaining, or how many miracles you're keeping yourself away from receiving, or how many times you're keeping yourself away from hitting a goal, because subconsciously you're polarizing your mind and telling yourself this isn't going to happen. Okay, so we just got to cut it. All right, so those three things that you want to think about. If you're not reaching a goal, or you're not getting what you want in a particular situation, you have to stop and self-assess, just like I had to do with my friend. And I talk all about it, like I said in the blog post, and it's actually a vlog, a video. But I had to self-assess, right? And I had to figure out, first of all, I was overgeneralizing. I was doing all of this. I was magnifying a situation, and then I was polarizing myself. And once I got out of that, and I realized that I was doing those things, and I moved forward, and I started using constructive accountability and positive language, and I was using toward language and not away language. So I was using words that were going to get me to my goal and not keep me thinking about where I was, which is where I didn't want to be. I did what I needed to do. And in that case, it was, I dropped 30 pounds. Okay. So you need to think about the same things. Are you using these strategies with yourself that are prohibiting you from moving forward with your goal? So overgeneralization, magnification, or are you being polarizing? Okay. So let's look at some examples and see, so you can see this language and the difference between them. Okay. So here we go. Okay, so first one. So we need to change the frame of what we're saying. So if you're saying, I can only, like somebody says, okay, are you a runner? And you say, oh, I can only run 2 miles. I used to be notorious for this. I'd be like, oh, I run, but I only run 2 miles. And actually, I stop at 1.99. My body just stops, right? And because I continue to say and use that negative language over and over and over again, that's all I would ever do was 2 miles. That was it, right? But when I started reframing that, I started moving up the ladder, right? And I was like, oh, I can actually go 3 miles. Oh, I'm at 4 miles. Oh, this is great. So you want to reframe it. So instead of saying, I can only run 2 miles, you would say something like, I'm running 2 miles while I'm working on my endurance, right? Okay, so you're looking at it from the positive nature of it, the positive aspect. You're not just stopping, because when you're saying I can only run 2 miles or I only run 2 miles, that is telling yourself that's it. That's what you're going to do, and that's it, right? You're not leaving any room for growth or improvement in this situation. Here's another example. I can't work out in the gym. I'll embarrass myself. Okay. So instead of saying that, and you'd be surprised at how many people think this and say this. And actually, in the Curated Health magazine, a few months ago, one of our contributing writers wrote a piece about actually it was kind of like being bullied in the gym, which is a thing that I didn't realize happened, but a lot of people have experienced this, right? And one of the things was to be okay, and this is just a little PSA, be okay with not knowing something and learning something new and asking questions. That's why people get paid. That's why they're at the gym and they're working at the gym. They're getting paid to help you. So if this is your reality, definitely don't be afraid. That make them earn their money just like you earn your money every day, and go ask, and so that you can do it appropriately and you don't feel out of place. But back to the language and the framing. So we got to change the frame, okay? So instead of saying, I can't work out in the gym, I'll embarrass myself, go ask for help and then say, I am proud of myself for going to the gym and trying out a new machine. Even if you have to just tell yourself that before you get there. I'm proud of myself for going to the gym today after work and trying a new machine. You have to reframe, because if you don't, you'll constantly be giving yourself the negative or the abusive language or the abusive accountability to get to where you want to be. Okay? Let's look at another example. We got to change the frame on this, guys. I'm too fat for that. I can't wear that. I'm too fat for that. Or, I'm already fat, so, I might as well eat this now. Or I'm too fat for that, so no need in trying to eat no salad. That's done. That ship is sailed. No, we have to get out of the abusive language and the abusive accountability, because you may be thinking to yourself, oh, I am standing in my truth and I'm holding myself accountable for the situation that I'm in, but that's not what your mind is hearing. That is not what you are internalizing, right? And just as a side note, I put this picture, these memes pop up in these pictures and all of this, and I cannot stand these things when they are like this, because they have subconscious, subliminal messages about how you should think or how you should feel. So I cannot stand when I see these, and I saw this and I was like, let me show people this example, because I don't know, it just bothers me to no end when I see self-deprecating information surrounding health and wellness, whether that be a size or whether that be physical ability or mental ability, because this all does play into our mental wellness too, okay? And we want to make sure that we are feeding and fueling positivity. So we got to change this frame. So what I would love for you to do is to change the frame for this. Even if you don't identify with these phrases, how would you say this? How would you change the frame and be using toward language? Language that's going to get you toward where you want to be, not take away and take you away from where you want to be. I would love to see how you would reframe this so that it would be constructive accountability about the situation at hand and not abusive accountability of the situation at hand. So if you could drop that in the comments, that would be so cool. And I'll come back and I'll look at all of them. I would love to see how you would reframe this. But this definitely needs to be reframed, no doubt about it. Okay, so those are some examples. I hope that this made sense to you. Again, this month has been about, and these Thursday night lives have been about looking at your wellness from what I call pillar 3, which is mindset, and pillar 4, environment, right? Because we know that nutrition does not make you well, right? There's a couple of components to it. I teach about 4 pillars of health. Pillar 1, nutrition, movement, mindset, and environment. And you need all 4 of those pillars to be well, okay? So here we go. You got to reframe how you are approaching and how you were thinking, because you are internalizing everything. And the minute that you use away language, negative language to define your circumstance or your situation, that is all that your brain processes. That's all you internalize, and you will remain stuck longer than you absolutely need to be or have to be. Okay, makes sense? So we are moving for positive accountability, right? Constructive accountability. And so we want to make sure, just to recap, that we are not using the 3. Overgeneralization of your situation. We're not going to magnify the negative, and we aren't going to be polarizing, okay? It's not going to be one thing or the other, okay? So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And as always, I hope that you come join me. Now, look, here is the thing. If you were with me at the beginning, you saw the ad for the Jumpstart to Skinny series. And I would love for you to join us and start streaming that series as soon as it premieres. So make sure that you check that out, because if you are dealing with a situation where you are feeling like stagnant, or you're not able to fit into your clothes, or you're feeling like you need to lose a couple of pounds, this series is going to give you the tools to jumpstart your progress toward your goal. And so if I say so myself, it is goal. Several people have watched the series before, and they have taken those things that we've talked about and used them. They're tangible. You can leave, go, implement it the next day, and you will start to see changes. So I hope that you join us for that. And so I will leave the info for you, but you can just go to jumpstarttoskinny.com. That's jumpstart, the number 2, skinny.com, and put your name there so that you can start streaming the series when it premieres. Okay, guys, I hope you have a great evening. Remember, positive, constructive accountability. We are not using abusive accountability to try to reach our goals. I hope you have a great evening. Talk to you soon.